Hello everyone, Fuzzfinger here, and let's continue on with Final Fantasy XIII-2. So, we're really getting there with the fragments now, and we're going to get another 2 today, which will bring our total to 151, which is, I believe, the maximum amount you can achieve before you actually do the end boss of the game. So we're going to get those today, and to do that we're going to need to do a couple of fairly tough bosses on the Arcalite step to get the last 2 fragments for this area. So make sure you have your monsters prepared. I highly recommend that your Synergist and your Commando monsters are maxed out and that they have at least been infused with a Tombury to give them the extra strength and magic support. And also, if you're using a Synergist Chocobo, a purple Chocobo as I am, you'll want to infuse it with a level 20, I can't even pronounce that, Amano Joku or whatever that is, and you'll want to select at least on Thunder, and maybe on Fire and on Frost as well. You can select 2 of them, so that's up to you. I'm going to go for Fire as well, I think. Okay, but you do need the Thunder one on your Synergist for definite, so put that on. And we are going to do a little bit more infusing for the second boss, but that's all we're going to need for the first one. So head over to the Arcalite step and let's get this done. Now the first boss we're going to prepare for, the first of the 2 bosses, is the Long Gui boss, and that's that big ass dinosaur turtle thing with a big shell over there. So we're going to prepare for that by setting up some paradigms, which I'm just doing now, and I advise that you copy what I'm doing to help with the strategy. So you do want Relentless Assault, but before we do the paradigms we're just going to get rid of this blue Chocobo, since we're not going to be using him, and we are going to be using a Sentinel. So I recommend the Bunker Beast or something better of at least level 35 plus. So your Sentinel doesn't have to be maxed, but it does need some levels in it. Gorilla is going to be our default paradigm, and you want to set that to the cross. The reason for that is that you'll then do single target debuffs with it, which is what we need. Okay, so set your tortoise up. We're going to need that for the powerful ability that this boss does. Hero's Charge will be a healing paradigm. Again, I would set that with the X or the cross, or whatever that's called. Make sure you've set Gorilla up as your default. Finish off with 1 Relentless Assault and 2 Cerberus paradigms, or Kerberos, depending on your pronunciation. Either is correct. And there's no quest to pick up for this boss, you just need to engage with it. You still get a fragment and a CP reward. So there's 2 phases to this boss. We have to first of all take out the 2 front legs, the left and right legs. We'll start with the left leg, and then we actually take down the boss himself. So begin by debuffing the left leg, and we're going to pretty much do this in order to stagger the leg. So keep applying debuffs. Keep an eye out though for the boss's ultimate attack, which is called Ultimate. There it is. I was a little slow with that one. You need to switch straight away to Tortoise to absorb some of the damage, and then switch back immediately to Gorilla X to begin, well, to carry on debuffing that leg. It shouldn't take too long to stagger. You might recognise this music, it's from the previous game. It was the boss music, I believe, in the previous game. Once the leg's been staggered, you want to switch to Cerberus paradigm and take it out, basically. You might want to switch back to your healing paradigm, Heroes X, just to top up if you need to. Once that leg's down, it shouldn't take too long. You can start working on the right hand leg, the right foreleg. Same tactics again. Start in a Gorilla, just heal up first. Go to Gorilla and begin debuffing the leg in order to stagger it. I should have probably stocked up on potions before this battle, but we'll have to make do with what I've got, so never mind. Okay, just be careful not to let that chain bonus deplete completely. Once this leg is down, then there should, as long as you do the boss quickly after that, there should be no more damage taken at all. So don't worry about your health too much once this leg's staggered, if you think you can kill it quickly enough. So I'm just carrying on getting those debuffs on. The Saboteur roll will stabilise the chain bonus, and Noel, as he's in his Ravager roll, will increase it. It doesn't take too long to stagger. Get a potion going there, save switching paradigms. And there's the stagger. So we can go down to our Cerberus paradigm and finish that leg off. It should drop very quickly once it's staggered, and the boss will fall down. Now, he may get up again in the battle if you're a little slow. So we want to prevent that from happening by killing him as quickly as we can. The way we're going to do that is by going back to our Gorilla paradigm and getting some debuffs on it. Now you do want to get poison on, because I believe poison can prevent him from getting back up on his and regenerating his legs. But it might take about 2 or 3 full rounds of applications to get poison on there, so I'm just going to keep doing that now until it gets on. And all the while you will be building up his chain bonus in this paradigm, so that's good as well. Right, and poison's hit now. As soon as poison hits, finish off getting him staggered by going into Relentless Assault. And as soon as he's staggered, stay in Relentless Assault. You want to get his chain bonus maxed. As you can see, that happens fairly quickly. So 950% plus is what you're aiming for. I'm just going to max it out. And then straight into Cerberus for a lot of damage, a ton of damage. And you should easily then be able to kill the Longuri before he stands back up and fixes his legs up. Okay, looks like I'm going to have to do this boss again at some point, since I haven't got all the data for it. You'll get 8,000 CP if you have your CP Fragment skill activated. And you get a nice 30,000 CP bonus for the first time you kill him, along with the Fragment. Now remember, if you want to reset any of the Arcalite step bosses, all you have to do is change the weather, leave the area, so go back to the Historia Crux, then come back to the Arcalite step and change the weather again to the correct setting for the boss, which is sunny, by the way, for the Longuri, and that will put them back in position so you can kill them again. If you want to farm for their rare drops, which for the Longuri is components for the ultimate weapons, and for the other bosses, some of the other bosses like the Ochu and the Immortal that we've already killed, you get the rare drops of weapons, which are also very powerful. Speak to Tipper when you're ready back at the Hunter's Camp in order to accept the Yomi Fragment quest. Now, Yomi happens to be, bar any DLC, he happens to be the hardest boss in the entire game. Even harder by far, in my opinion, than the final bosses of the main story, so we've definitely got some work cut out for us. And we want to change the weather to stormy, so that's left lever down, right lever up. And this fight is a slog, so make sure that you're nicely leveled, that you've got some good monsters, and hopefully, with a bit of luck, you should be able to kill this boss quite easily. So first of all, I'm just going to sort my monsters out, and I'm going to give my purple Chocobo Faithgar, which is very important. So I infused a Yakshini Synergist into him. You can actually use the Yakshini for this fight as your Synergist if it's high level and it has a useful feral link. But I'm going to stick with my purple Chocobo. And we're also going to be using our Saboteur for this fight, which for me, I'm using a black Chocobo, although it's not max level. It probably should be, since it doesn't have a lot of high hit points. but it will have to do. We'll just have to see what we get, although I do recommend you level your Saboteur if it's not already. And we're going to replace the Commando. We're going to need the Sentinel still. So let's get that black Chocobo in. And now we're going to need to sort out our paradigms. We're going to want to keep Tortoise, so I'm just going to stick that down the bottom of the list. That will help us against Yomi's ultimate ability. So the two most useful paradigms which we're going to want at the top are Espionage and Even Odds. Now make sure you set those back to normal. You don't want the cross or the X next to them. We're going to want Infiltration, which is 3 Saboteurs. We're going to spend a lot of this fight debuffing and buffing our party, so Synergists and Saboteurs are going to abound in this. We're going to want to use Devastation. That will be our main damage paradigm, although unfortunately we won't be getting to use it all that much because of everything else we're going to have to be doing. I'm also going to infuse the black Chocobo with this level 4 Ariman, or however the heck you're supposed to pronounce that word. And we want Curse. That's the purpose for that. And we're also going to infuse it with a Dendroblum, or whatever that is, for poison. So if you're not using a Chocobo, black Chocobo, just make sure your Saboteur has poison and Curse and wound. But most of your damage will be coming from poison on this fight. Now, we will need a Chocobo to access Yomi.
Come back to visit anytime.
So first things first, let's just go back into the Hunter's Pen and grab a Chocobo. Make sure you just stop by at Chocolina if you do need to get some potions as well. So you'll probably be using a few of those in this encounter. And when you're on your Chocobo, just head south. We're going to the little hill cliff thingy-majig that you have to jump on with the Chocobo. The same one that you had to go on to explore the map fully. You can see the waypoint marker on it anyhow. So just go over. Oh, there's one more thing. We should set one of our paradigms. Hang on a moment. If I just open the paradigm menu. I did forget about this. That's the one. You want to set that to wide, and what that will do is allow the purple Chocobo to prioritise AoE Faith and AoE Bravery spells on the whole party to get them all buffed up together. And their use will be Faith and Bravery will be useful because the boss depletes the last 2 buffs that you put on your party. And so they will act as fodder, if you like, for the more important buffs like Protect and Shell. So the tactics are, this boss uses a shield which he puts up periodically, and when that shield is up you cannot do anything to him. So start the encounter. I've started it with my 3 Saboteurs, which was probably a mistake. There was no point in doing that. You want to start off with your default paradigm, which is the, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it's the one above Even Odds. Espionage, that's it. And that will start getting buffs on you. And you want to carry on in that paradigm through this first shield to try and get as many buffs on your party as you can. And stay in Espionage for the moment. So that shield goes up for a few seconds. When his shield's down, that's our cue for doing damage. But it's also his cue for doing damage as well, so that's why we need to keep those buffs up. Every time his shield's down, you're going to want to go into your Infiltration paradigm, which is your 3 Saboteurs, to start getting debuffs on him. You want to get poison on him as quickly as you can, which will be the third debuff to be cast. And that will be your main form of damage. Then after a while he will bring his shield back up, and then you carry on rebuffing, curing your party, and carry on like that. That's basically the routine for this fight. So you can probably see now why this is a bit of a slog, because he uses that shield quite frequently. So I'm going to switch to infiltration now that his shield's down, and I'm going to start getting some debuffs on. If you'd like, as soon as poison is on, which is the third debuff you'll see, then you want to switch to convalescence, which will get bravery and faith on your party. Now the reason why I switched to devastation is that it's a really good damaging paradigm for this fight, and when poison is on there and the shield is down, if you still have a little bit of time, you can do that extra bit of damage in devastation to A, get his chain bonus up a little bit more, but mainly just to really bring his health down. But you will have to play it by ear, because he will be dishing out a ton of damage at the same time, and he hasn't even started using his main attack yet. That doesn't come until later, but when it comes you'll know about it. So just rinse and repeat. That ability he just did that starts with a P, that's the one that removes the first two debuffs that are on your characters. So now that shield's down, we're going to get poison on there again. And switch to convalescence to get bravery and faith and on our group. Try and get that monster healed up. And we didn't get much damage done to him that time, unfortunately. He does use that shield really quite regularly. So you might want to use potions and switch to your healing paradigms to keep your health topped up, especially in between these shields. Otherwise, for the moment, for the first half of the encounter, that's all there is to it. Now, Wicked Whirl is his most damaging ability. It's his ultimate attack, and you will have to switch to Tortoise when he starts casting it. It's an AoE ability, it does a ton of damage, and you will probably wipe or die if you don't switch to Tortoise while he's casting, so always keep an eye out for that. A couple of wound potions wouldn't go amiss either, since he does do a fair amount of wound damage, and since this fight drags on a little, the wound damage can add up. And then just stick at it really, and just concentrate, and don't lose your concentration. Fortunately, when he goes into that shield mode, he doesn't do any damage whatsoever, so that really just gives you a minute to catch up on healing and buffs for your party. So anyway, I hope I've explained it properly. Even with the tactics, this can be a tough fight, and I'm going to be quiet now and just let the encounter play out.
Try this. Thank you. Let's regroup. I can do this.
This is rough.
You're okay now. Let's regroup. Try this.
There he goes, finally. And that was a 10-minute fight. Still get 5 stars though. You get 40,000 CP every time you battle this boss, if you have the CP skill fragment enabled. And for the first time you get an extra 30,000 CP along with the Yomi fragment, which is the final fragment for this area, the Arcalite Step. And that will bring our total up to a healthy 151 fragments, which is all the fragments we can collect at this moment in the game. So we're going to have to go and do the end bosses now, which will be starting in the next video. Before we do that though, I have collected a nice amount of CP from doing these optional bosses and farming as well, so I'm going to spend all my Christogen points. I'm in the last expansion, which is basically just top everything else up to level 99. And once we've done this expansion, there is no more Christogen points to spend. Well, there are Christogen points, we still collect them, but there's nothing to spend them on, so... Unless Square bring out a patch which will allow you to use your unspent Christogen points for something, like maybe turning them into monster crystals, or to give you buffs for farming, or whatever it might be, there will be no more use for them. Let's just finish up with Noel. And that's it, our characters are now maxed out. And if you followed my spending of the Christogen points throughout the game, then you'll have a nice all-round strong party. There we go. And that is it, folks. For today, anyway. So, next video, we're going to be going for the end of the game. We'll be going back to Academia 500 AF. Don't worry, there's no more puzzles there. We're just going to be going back to literally head to the waypoint marker and engage in the final cutscenes and boss battles. And I hope you'll join me for that. We've now got a lot of the optional stuff done and only 9 fragments left to get in total. I've been Fuzzfinger, thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you next time.